Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Casual Watch Talk. You're joined by Sam and Chris. Chris, how have you been?
Excellent. How have you been?
Very, very good, in fact. Yeah, very good. We've got a really interesting show coming up because I made a few statements on our Facebook group, which I'm going to follow up with some real facts and figures here. But before we dive into that, which I've already teased in the thumbnail, but I'll be aloof now, should we do a quick wristwatch check?
Yeah, sure. I have got the C65 chronograph on. A blue dial, enjoying on the bracelet because it's cold out still. So,
yeah, I think that's one of the Christopher Ward icons, isn't it now?
I think almost though it was. I looked at the best of 2021 and there were so many, like, Christopher Ward just did a thing on Instagram that was like, pick your top for 2021, your top watches for 2021. And of course they did that skeletonized,
the in-house
demo,
partly in-house,
yeah, that demo piece that they did. Yeah, right. What wasn't in-house was done by like major heavy manufacturers. So, and then they had like the blue sapphire. And then they had their white GMT, the white dial GMTs, and a whole bunch of stuff. So it was like it was tough to pick. And then I almost felt like this kind of got lost in the shuffle, but that's okay. I'm okay with it because they're just great. It's great company, and I think they're really putting out some great stuff that we all enjoy.
I forget who it was. Somebody on the Facebook group had seen that skeletonized watch in real life. And was like blown away by it. I think it might have been Stephen over on the Facebook group who said that they saw it in real life and it was incredible, which we have no doubt about. But I'm still wearing my little speed timer, and I've got it on. I mentioned this last week, the Gas Bones Velcro strap, which is holding up really well, actually.
Nice.
I like it on here. I mentioned last week that I bought it just to kind of bulk out the speed timer a little bit because not too small. I'm just so used to bigger watches. But I've been wearing this a lot.
Yeah, you're also a fan of the bun strap, which kind of bulks out a watch like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And this looks great on a NATO. I've got a really cool, I mentioned it on the Christmas show, but I've got a really cool Jubilee bracelet that I bought for it, and I actually brushed it using a emery board, a nail file, because it had a little bit of shiny sections. Probably one of the best bracelets I've ever bought off Amazon, and it was dead cheap. I'll show a picture up here and leave the link in the description down below. Also, if you look in the description down below, you'll see links to the Facebook group and also the Discord group, which is growing. Thanks for everyone that's joined and all of the video suggestions.
For sure.
Okay, well, let's dive into another thrilling episode of Hit or Miss. Chris, this watch has had quite the buzz, certainly on our Facebook group. Rob and a few other people own this watch. I love the look of this, but I mean, I'm giving it away whether I think it's hit or miss. But this is the new Doxer, been out a couple of weeks now. I picked the Caribbean model, but they've got a teal one or close to the Tiffany blue. This is a lot more industrial, a lot more of a geometric case. It looks here like it's got the integrated bracelet, but it isn't integrated.
That was the first thing I was going to ask. Yeah, that's the first thing I was going to ask.
I love the look of this. But it's using, I believe, a Solita movement in here, not cost regulated, but it's coming in at $1,490 here. And I'll throw some pictures up of Rob's, who's got one on the Facebook group. But I don't know what you think about this, but I'm a big fan of it.
I'm not a fan of the case shape.
Oh, really?
I think there's a little too much. I think there's maybe a little too much going on for me, and maybe because I've had some experience with that hexagonal style case in the where it kind of goes off to these sharp diagonal lugs. Sometimes can be a little tough wearing, so I'll give it a I have not had it in my hand and had it on, but I'm nervous about the case shape a little bit. It reminds me of the what's the sort of hexagonal cape shape, the Samurai from Seiko.
Okay.
It reminds me a little bit of the Samurai, and I have not I've not really been a samurai fan. I think they're cool. I've tried them on, but that sort of shape, and I don't want to by no means pigeonhole the the Doxa into that one comparison. I think the colors are great. I love the orange hand. It's so, what they do well is so well done. I mean, the orange hand, the colors, you cannot beat the colors. But I think I'd be more the fan of what was the 300 with the beads of rice bracelet.
I think this is going to be a big hit for Doxa. They had that, I think it was the 200T, didn't they, that they released last year, that I think, I mean, I don't know based on sales figures how well it did, but I know I knew a lot more people had bought that than perhaps I'd seen on other forums, but I think this is actually a big hit for it. They did, I'll do a little shout out for Luke on the Facebook group who owns the Frog Squad watch straps. He bought, there was a limited edition version of this watch that had no date but was made in titanium. And he's just took some fantastic photos of that. So if I can get his permission, I'll be flashing a few photos up now.
I'm going to say a miss, but just for this one time.
Well, I think it's a hit. Chris is going to go for a miss. For our main subject this week, I'm going to make it all about me, Chris. But
okay, all right, good. It's about time.
And it's something that I discussed on the Facebook group. I've also discussed it over on the Discord group. The Discord group, link in the description down below. And while you're at it, please, if you would like and subscribe this video, if you enjoy the content here, it really does help out the channel big time, getting it to a wider audience, and share with your friends. I was seriously thinking sort of the end of last year. For anybody that's been watching the podcast for a while, Chris certainly knows this. I'm definitely I forget what our friend Pete McConville calls it over on his YouTube channel. I think I'm the accountant or something. He has like a different levels of different types of watch collecting. I'm certainly one that I love the hunt and finding watches, and I love owning watches, but I don't like to have a big collection of watches. So I'm often buying and selling them, not flipping them. I usually sell them at a loss, unfortunately. But this year, I'm seriously thinking, Chris, about just buying one watch, just saving up and making a big purchase.
Okay. At the middle to end of 22.
Yes. Yeah.
To mark off a couple of years that we've had.
I'm also 42 in this November, so hopefully I'll find out the meaning to life and whether it's watches or not. I've been chatting about this on the Facebook group, and the reason that I thought that this would be a good podcast is I've set myself some rules. So I'll go through the rules that I've set myself about this, and I'll go through the reasons that I'm doing it and what I think I'll learn doing it, and then we'll just monitor it as the year goes. Did I fall off the wagon? And I know there's a couple of people over on the Facebook group that are interested in seeing if they can do this as well. I'm by no means saying
it's like the not the one watch challenge, the one purchase a year challenge.
Let's go through the plan that I've set myself. So the type of watch that I want, and then what we'll do, Chris, is I'm going to go through the current list of the ones that I think that I like the look of, and then I guess we'll check in another couple of months and see whether those watches are still top of the list. So the type of watch that I want, and I've really thought about this because over the years I bought different types of watches, and that's the beauty of watch collecting, isn't it? Finding out what you really like. But this is what the type of watch that I want. I think I definitely has to have the date. I've tried to trick myself a number of times in buying a watch that doesn't have the date, and I like having the date on a watch.
Yep.
Blue dial.
Okay. Wow.
Blue or maybe possibly a grey dial. I like them the most. I like the blue dials the most. My Speedtimer's got a blue dial. I think just to interject for a blue dial, I think that if it's not white or black, I think it's more likely to be catch the attention of random strangers. So some color. If your watch has some color, I think it's, and as watch appreciators that we are, how rare is it that anyone even mentions, that anyone even says like, "Hey, cool watch." I think realistically, I'm wearing a chronograph watch here, but I think for the big purchase, chronograph is probably less important. More a three-hander or maybe another complication to go along with it. I've mentally budgeted myself in the 2,000 to 8,000 price range. Now, I know that is
pretty big.
It is a pretty big price range. I'll kind of explain how I came up with that in a bit. Next thing is, what do I think I'm going to achieve by doing this, or what I hope to achieve, I suppose, is a better way of putting this. It's going to force me to really think about what I want. So it's going to make me, instead of obsessing about lots of different watches, I think it's going to really make me think about what I truly want based on watches that have come and gone in the past. I think that also, if I save the money in a particular way, and how I want to do that is that I've set myself a little rule that the money is either going to come from YouTube ad revenue, from selling other watches that I have, selling other items, or extra cash beyond my standard wage. So maybe, freelance work, or maybe doing some of the gig economy work, so that I actually feel the pain of saving for it, instead of me, for example, like my wage having a standing order that comes out of my wage every sort of
I see what you're saying. So to actually feel like you put in effort for it,
additional effort.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 quick points on that. One is, you are certainly not. We would love to be making that kind of revenue on ad revenue, but that is that's we'd be saving up for a long time. That would be like an 8-year watch. Number 2, really good to think about. If you're considering purchasing something long term, and if you're considering purchasing something short term, like it shouldn't be any of the money that is already set for something else, like food, shelter, the 7 to 10% you're putting in a 401k, your retirement savings. Like after all of that, then take that money, get in watches. You want to spend, couple $1,000s on something nice. I think that's the way to go.
We're moving into a new house in a couple of months, so all of my actual wage that I earn is allocated to that type of thing.
Yeah, instead of a like automatic savings withdrawal that you just $1,200 enter.
One of the things I'll learn is, when I definitely get the watch, I won't be thinking of it as just cash sat in the watch box, basically.
Right. That's a good, okay. These are good. This is good.
I also think, market-wise, it'll allow me to, one of the contenders, or I want to be one of the contenders, is I'm all on board with the Seiko spring drive technology. I just haven't found a watch yet, style of watch, look of watch, that I think it's worth the money, but that I love enough. Chris, what I thought would be interesting now is if I started showing you the current list of the ones that I'm thinking about, and then get your opinion on them.
All right, so these are early days. Early times.
And we can look back on this in a few months.
There's a couple of scary signposts coming up, which is, when do you stop waiting for the magical Grand Seiko that doesn't come out? And that's sort of one question. And then when do you tighten up and say it's going to be these 3, or maybe these 6, these 3, these 2, these 1? So this will be fun. We'll have to. I will be happy to hold your feet to the fire on this.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite an interesting exercise, especially if I can hold out. Which the jury's out on whether I can hold out. Well, let's dive in here with the first one. So the first one, we just mentioned Doxa as hit or miss, but I really like the idea of owning a Doxa. So this one is the sub 300. This one retails for 2,490. The things that are drawing me towards Doxa is, it's just such a classic design, and I've never owned one or seen one in person, so that attracts me about them. They also retain their value. So even on pre-owned, they really retain their value. So those are the things that are drawing me towards it. The things that question in my mind about whether I go with it or not is it seems like you have to go. I can't yet work out the price differences between the models. So this one is 2,490 for the 100. There's also a sub 300T. Now the thing is that the depth ratings on them are different, so you pay more for a bigger depth rating, but that doesn't matter for me, for a standard watch collector. But what does matter is that some of them are COSC regulated and some of them aren't. So this one is $600 less, looks similar, but it isn't COSC regulated. And I think if I'm going to spend that money, I at least want it COSC regulation of some sort. So that's So that was my first pick. I don't know what you think about that one.
I agree. I agree with the regulation. I mean, I know you are. We both own time graphers, so that's So we've often quipped about our accuracy snob status. So I can definitely see that. This keeps very much in line with your turtle.
Yes.
As far as wearing and so that case shape is, I think, a good hit for you. It's I would, and you're settled on that blue?
Yes. Yeah, settled on the blue.
Okay. Because with Doxa, their fun colors are almost. I would love to see, for most watches, I'd love to see like the breakdown of like what colors go out the door, because there's always that. For a completely random example, there's always that Miami blue GT4 sitting on the showroom floor that you yourself can see yourself in, and then your friends and your wife are like, "What are you doing?" So
yeah, and okay, so the next watch, I quite like the look of the Seiko Marine Master. So this is the blue one, and I only started thinking about this watch honestly a couple of weeks ago, because I made a video on that other Seiko that I think is way overpriced, but then I started looking into the 8L35 movement, and even though I have a huge issue with the fact that they get a ridiculous rating between it's like minus 30 plus 15 or something, silly.
Whereas other watches in that same category are like plus minus 5. Yeah, exactly.
But I really like the look of it, and also a few people had commented on that other video that they've owned the 8L35 movement in Seiko watches, and they do perform a lot better. It just seems like Seiko, for some reason, are trying to just hedge their bets with it. The pros of this one is that I love the look of this because I love the turtle, and it's a similar case. It has those Marine Master hands, which I'm obsessed with, because you kindly put them on the turtle for me. And I'm a big fan of Seiko, despite my poking fun at them. And this seems to be the best of the Seiko divers, mechanical divers, to me, before you get into Grand Seiko. So
what's I was gonna say, what size is this one?
This case on here is, let's just have a look here.
Just to the right there,
44.3 millimeter case.
Okay.
So it's larger, thickness of over 15. I'd say
it's a big boy.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say the negatives on this, so I've gone over the pros and negatives, are it's unknown to me about the 8L35 movement, how it performs.
Okay.
The other thing as well is that I also don't know until I see it about the Seiko bracelets, because I know sometimes they're a bit hit or miss on the more expensive watches. So those are the cons.
I would say, what was the Marine Master? So maybe put in maybe the back of your mind, pre-owned. There was a Marine Master with a Grand Seiko spring drive movement in it.
So yes, you're totally right, Chris. There is a similar Marine Master type watch, and this is definitely on my list. And it has the spring drive movement, but it isn't a Grand Seiko. This is the Pro Specs LX version, the SNR 045. For our audio listeners, this is very similar to the Marine Master style case, except it has a spring drive in, has some Marine Master hands. And the one that I've got on my list is this green dial version. I know that I mentioned that I want a blue dial version watch, but the only other version they do at the moment is a black dial version. So I quite like this. green dial version. And the pros of this are it's titanium case, so it's going to be lighter. It has the spring drive movement in it, which is a big plus, which I wanted. The only negatives I would say of this is it's on the high end. This is $6,000, this one. And I'm also, again, not entirely sure about the comfort of the bracelet on here. So I don't know what you think about this one, Chris.
Well, the green strikes me as, as something that's that's going to need some consideration. The dial is sort of got like a surface texture, which is interesting. So it's not just like the green version. So it's a limited edition, special edition kind of thing. So it gets some points maybe for that. If you're shopping for something and you like a look of it, then sort of bonus points if it's also somewhat limited and you're never going to see one at any watch meet, that kind of thing. I think the case and the bracelet, I've tried this watch on and it's super comfortable. It's super comfortable, and it's like I think you're saving a bunch because it's the Seiko version and not the Grand Seiko version. So we'd be supporting that. We'd be continuing to support Seiko in their. They need to bring Grand Seiko movements over to the Seiko line.
Absolutely. Well, next on the list, this might be a little bit of I've got a couple on here that I think will be surprises for you. This next one, I think will be a surprise for you because I've never talked about this watch before. But it's the Omega Seamaster. This is the 300-meter one for the audio listeners. It's the commonly known as the James Bond one.
Yep.
And the pros of this one, why I like it. I've never owned a coaxial movement Speedmaster, Omega Seamaster. I've never owned a Seamaster, but I'm totally on board with the coaxial technology. I know that these aren't, I think they use Metas, don't they, instead of COSC, but it's similar, a similar rating. So those are the pros of it. I think this one, I know I've given Omega some stick for their pricing, but I think this one is spot on this. It's $5,400. Right. Again, you can buy them pre-owned. It's a great size. Right. Those are my pros for it. The negatives are, I just have never loved the hands on these Seamasters.
The skeleton.
In my own opinion.
Yeah.
I've just never loved the hands. So it would be one of those, again, when I owned it, would I overlook the hands or not? Or is there still that risk that if I don't like the hands now, is that going to eat away at me? So
it is a signature of it. So it's this is not a situation where you have a micro brand that just kind of dug into the bushel barrel of hands and dropped whatever they had on there. This was a design decision by Omega, and they've stuck with it, and it's part of the iconography and the design language of this watch. So I could give it a pass for that. There are people that it certainly can be difficult to read or hard, but it's a big dive watch. So I personally would have for this one, the thing that all of these strike me is the helium escape valve. I can't get over it.
That doesn't bother me anywhere near as much as I like everything about this watch.
Okay. Blue dial date, but the hands maybe question. Okay. Yeah. Little James Bond action.
So moving up into another echelon of what if I went over my savings goal. Now, this does make me nervous about buying watches that are this expensive, but I had to put on here the Datejust. So this is the Oyster Datejust, the 41mm. This isn't the blue dial version. This is the grey dial version. So this is the Datejust 41 with the Jubilee. I know I own the OP, and I bought that really as an investment, but I have always loved this Rolex. I love it even more than the Submariners. With the smooth bezel, I will own this watch one day, but it's whether I can save up. I mean, this is $8,150. Also, the pros of this are it's it'll always at least retain its value. I love the styling. I've never liked the Rolex Mercedes hands. I know that's controversial, but just myself. I think this is the ultimate combination of Datejust, and it's a good size. Negatives, I think the only negative really here is, well, there's two negatives, and these two negatives will apply to the next two watches as well. Is it because I've never owned a watch of this price, am I going to be nervous to wear it, is one of the negatives. And the other negative on it as well is its availability. Is it going to be where I just cannot get this watch?
Yeah. So interesting this over maybe the Oyster Perpetual line, because I could see myself into and I looked at the white dial Oyster Perpetual. It's a little different as far as style. So here you have the sort of that smooth bezel, so not the fluted, but the smooth, very particular.
I think this is just, again, all of this is my own opinion. I think the fluted bezel, for me, is the crossover between, I think that
very popular.
The smooth bezel looks more contemporary to me.
Okay.
So that's why I like it. And it would just be the steel smooth bezel. It wouldn't be the white.
Yeah.
White gold, so that's why I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the look of it. The Cyclops on the date, but you're very particular about the date, so that'll work. So you'll be able to see it when you're 70. If you're, you still get it. I'm not a fan of the Cyclops, but again, this is you and your date. It's interesting choice. I think, knowing you for as long as I have, I'd have to fly to Florida and then come and scratch it, and then
yes, you might have to do that.
just force you to wear it. Call the AD and be like, yeah. So one of those lugs, put a 20 mil screw in there, just so he can't get it off his wrist.
Yeah, or you could say no. He doesn't want a pre-owned. He wants a pre-worn.
Right.
He'll pay the full price. Somebody else just has to scratch it.
Okay, all right. And the other thing we can do too is let's keep you honest, and we'll get one of those like safety tags to check to see if you've removed it, and we'll have you thread that on there and like take a picture of the time and date,
like on a shipping container or something.
Right, exactly, and see if you've meddled with it.
So I've got two left now, and I think both of these will be. I think the next one will be another surprise for you, and this is a Panerai. So this is the Panerai Luminor Marina 42 millimeters. For audio listeners, it's the classic Panerai, except it has the date on it, and it is their blue dial version, but it's slightly smaller at the 42 millimeters.
Okay.
The pros of this is I've always been intrigued by Panerai. I've reviewed them a few times on the channel, and I've always liked them. And I really like this blue. I like the style. I like the fact that they're robust and hard wearing. The negatives on this one is probably a little bit more thought out than perhaps some of the other watches that we've looked at. The negatives to me are price is a question rather than a negative. So unless you're buying from a boutique, this is $7,900, which I do think is expensive for this watch. But the flip side of that is I know that it is very hard to buy a pre-owned Panerai because the fakes are so well done that even pre-owned watch sellers are very cautious about buying Panerai. The fakes are so prolific. So that's one of the negatives is I haven't got a comfort level with the price yet, even though it's got this 3-day movement, and I think it's 3-day movement, and I love the look of it. The other negative as well is that the bracelet option, to my eye, doesn't look good for Panerai, and they all come on either a leather or a rubber strap. So I would definitely have to source another strap for it that I liked on it. I don't like the one it comes with, and I don't like their interpretation of a metal bracelet. Just my opinion.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Certainly a surprise. Panerai is you're okay. So here's what I'll say. Your It fits with your larger style dive watches. So you're not afraid of a 44 mil dive watch. And so this is, big Panerai. You can't, as far as like being able to watch spot, they are immediately recognizable.
Yep.
So like when I'm standing in line in an airport, or I'm in a mall, or I'm at a car meet or whatever, it's like Panerai. Easy to spot. The bracelet and strap choices, I don't think will be too much of a problem for you because you are a strap collector.
That's true. More than a watch collector.
Yeah. You are a purveyor of and a aficionado of straps and bracelets.
This is why I'm making it a one watch challenge, because I couldn't make it a one strap challenge.
No, jeez, no. I don't think that's too much of a negative. You mentioned the controversy with them being fake. I think they suffered a little bit. Maybe that's overblown. This could be one of those situations where 1,600 cars get in accidents and catch on fire in a month, and 2 of them are electric Teslas, and immediately it will be all over the news. And if you remember, a couple years ago or a year ago, Panerai had a picture of a fake Panerai that they used in one of their like social media marketing. They promoted or something that they did, and they just walked right into it. So maybe that's a little overblown. So we can do some more research into that. That's good to follow. But okay, all right, cool. Surprising pick.
Last on the list. So what if I went big with it and I managed to save a lot more money than I thought I was going to save? So what if for some reason I'd managed to save way over the $8,000? What watch do I think is worth it for me? And what I'm going to show you here is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Polaris range.
Okay.
And I'm showing you a range here instead of a specific watch because this is perhaps one of my negatives on it. But I love the look of these Polaris watches. I'm on board with the Jaeger-LeCoultre in-house movements. I know they retain their value even though they don't necessarily go up. I love the overall style of it. The negative, of course, being is that I want a blue dial watch with the date, and they don't actually do one until you get up to the marine date. They have a black dial version that is $9,000, but you have to be paying $11,400 to get the blue with the date. So that is definitely a negative. Also, the other personal negative for me is I don't know how I would feel about wearing a watch that is $11,400.
I know, right? If you're questioning 8,000, then 11,000. That's a. Yeah, I would have to say that you would probably a no on that.
If you're thinking it dollar for dollar, it doesn't make sense to have it with the date, but...
And it looks like they changed the style of the blue dial for the ones with the Mariner.
Yeah, they kind of hollowed out the hands. I mean, this one, the Memovox, has the alarm in it, which is their icon.
Oh, okay.
This one is just I don't know.
Yeah, that's the Memovox, and then they just have the date. Okay.
Yes.
For instead of 18, it's 11,000.
Yeah, I think this perhaps the depth rating is the difference here. This is a 300 meters for the 11,000.
Skeletonized hands.
Yeah.
So similar to the Omega. Compressor style case with the two.
Yes. Two.
What does the second?
It does. It's
controls
not
the
immediate.
bezel.
Yeah, it's not immediately obvious, but it does have an inner rotating bezel.
Okay. Controls the. Yeah, I would expect that. Okay. Controls the bezel, and then for the Memovox version, sets the alarm. I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So some interesting points here. I mean, so JLC. So you're unlike the Panerai. No one will know what you have on your wrist. So I mean, so if you're worried about walking around with $8,000 on your wrist, don't be, because the guy with the Panerai, is going to be noticed before you. And then you'll be able to look down at your watch and be like, yes, the assailant came in at 2:05. So, so a little bit, yeah, a little bit of a kind of a flip from there. Can't go wrong. You know, like you said, like it retains its value, which is great. So you're that it's going to be super accurate. And total high expectations. It's interesting too. Some of your lower stuff versus your higher stuff. The negatives kind of go away. Like your accuracy negative goes away because you know it's going to be accurate. Your you know, any sort of question as far as like fit and finish are going to go away because you know it's going to be an amazing watch. Right. So very interesting. All right. Well.
Let us know over on the Facebook group or on the Discord what you think of that. This is your first video you're watching, we would love it if you subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it. As always, we appreciate you watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks, guys. Bye.